Bringing your spouse to Canada on a spousal open work permit is a great way to reunite with your loved one, while also allowing them the freedom to work for any employer in Canada. This option is available to the spouses or common law partners of temporary foreign workers, international students, and others who are eligible under specific immigration programs. In this guide, we'll walk you through the process, eligibility criteria, and steps to bring your spouse to Canada on a spousal open work permit. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. By doing so, you're helping to spread the word, and God will count this as your contribution to helping others achieve their dreams of moving to Canada. 1. What is a spousal open work permit? A spousal open work permit, SOWP, allows the spouse or common law partner of certain individuals in Canada to work for any employer without needing a specific job offer or LMIA, Labor Market Impact Assessment. The main benefit of this permit is that it is open, meaning that your spouse can accept job offers from any employer across Canada without restrictions on the type of employment. Eligibility for spousal open work permit is primarily tied to the immigration status of the principal applicant, you. It can be granted to the spouse of a temporary foreign worker who is working in a skilled job, National Occupation Classification NOC, Skill Level 0, A or B, the spouse of an international student who holds a valid study permit, the spouse of an individual who is applying for or has applied for permanent residence under an immigration program like Express Entry or provincial nominee programs. 2. Eligibility requirements for the spouse. For your spouse to apply for a spousal open work permit, both you and your spouse need to meet certain eligibility criteria. Principal applicant status. You must be either a skilled worker, holding a valid Canadian work permit, an international student enrolled in a full-time program, or a candidate applying for permanent residency. Valid temporary status. Your spouse must have legal status to stay in Canada, either as a visitor, student, or worker. Supporting documents. Proof of your relationship, such as a marriage certificate or evidence of common law partnership, and a valid permit of your current status must be provided. Third step-by-step process to apply for a spousal open work permit. Here's a detailed breakdown of how to bring your spouse to Canada on a spousal open work permit. Step 1. Check your eligibility before starting the application. Ensure that you meet the eligibility requirements. If you are a skilled worker, check that your occupation falls under NOC Skill Level 0, A or B. If you are an international student, confirm that you are enrolled in a full-time post-secondary institution and hold a valid study permit. B. Step 2. Gather the required documents to apply for a spousal open work permit. Your spouse will need to submit several documents to the Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, IRCC. The required documents include a valid passport, ensure it will not expire during the work permit period, your marriage certificate or proof of common law partnership, a copy of your work or study permit, proof of your employment or study status, such as a letter from your employer or educational institution, proof of funds, if applicable, to demonstrate your ability to support your spouse while in Canada. If your spouse is applying from outside Canada, they may also need to provide a completed work permit application form, biometrics, and a medical examination if required by the IRCC. Step 3. Submit the application. Your spouse can submit the application for a spousal open work permit either from outside of Canada, inside Canada, or at a Canadian port of entry, depending on their current location and status. Online application. The preferred method is submitting the application online through the IRCC website. This allows for faster processing and easier tracking of your application. Paper application. While less common, your spouse can also submit a paper application through a visa application center in their home country or region. Make sure all documents are scanned and uploaded properly, and follow the steps to complete the application fee payment online. Step 4. Processing time. Processing times for spousal open work. Permits can vary depending on your spouse's location and the current volume of applications. Generally, applications submitted from outside Canada may take several weeks to months. You can check the current IRCC processing times on their official website. While waiting for approval, your spouse should ensure that they remain in legal status in Canada, if they are already present in the country. In many cases, applicants will be granted implied status, meaning they can legally stay in Canada while the application is processed. Step 5. Approval and work permit issuance. Once the application is approved, your spouse will receive a Spousal Open Work Permit, which will allow them to work for any employer in Canada. This permit typically matches the length of your own work or study permit, meaning if your work permit is valid for 2 years, your spouse's work permit will usually be valid for the same duration. Fourth, rights and responsibilities of your spouse on a Spousal Open Work Permit. Once your spouse obtains the Spousal Open Work Permit, they will have the legal right to work for any employer. There are no restrictions on job type or employer. Move within Canada. Your spouse can live and work anywhere in Canada, provided that their permit is valid. Apply for extensions. If your own work or study permit is extended, your spouse can also apply for an extension of their work permit to continue working legally in Canada. While on the Spousal Open Work Permit, it is important for your spouse to follow the conditions of the work permit, e.g., the permit must be renewed before it expires. Ensure that their immigration status remains valid. Maintain health insurance coverage while in Canada, if applicable. 5. Potential pathways to permanent residency. Having a Spousal Open Work Permit can be a stepping stone toward permanent residency. If you are working in Canada under a skilled occupation or studying, there are several pathways to permanent residency for both you and your spouse. Express entry. If you apply through the express entry system and are granted permanent residency, your spouse can also be included in the application. Provincial Nominee Program, PNP. Some provinces have programs that may allow you and your spouse to apply for permanent residency based on employment in the region. Bringing your spouse to Canada on a Spousal Open Work Permit is a great way to ensure they can join you and pursue employment opportunities while you work or study in the country. The process is straightforward, but requires careful attention to eligibility requirements and proper documentation. By following the steps outlined in this guide, you can make the transition smoother for your spouse and help them establish their life in Canada. If you found this information useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to help others who may be in the same situation. Your contribution will make a difference in spreading the knowledge and supporting others on their Canadian journey.